Hello, Algebra 2. Happy Monday. Today's December 7th. So today we're going to do a review of last week's homework on factoring and solving. And you have homework tonight. There's 3 problems at the end of this video. So you have homework, assignment number 46 at the end of this video. Okay, so this is last week's homework, and I just wanted to do a couple of problems with you on it. Make sure that you're okay. So the directions say factor and then solve. When it says solve, that's when they set it equal to 0. And so there's an extra step that we have to do for that. So we'll make sure we get that done. So here we go. The first thing you need to do is to draw a magic X. And on the sides of your X, whatever this term is in the front, you write 3x, 3x, and then you get going with the magic X. So you multiply the front and the back. 3 times -4 is -12. And then the middle term, and sometimes if you write it right here, it reminds you what terms, -12 and -4, actually go on the magic X in the top and the bottom. I kind of like to write it up there. Okay, so you're asking yourself what multiplies to -12 and adds or subtracts to the -4. So what multiplies to 12? Negative. How about a 12 times a -1? How about a -12 times a 1? How about a 6 times a -2? How about a -6 times a +2? Last one would be a 4 times a -3 and a -4 times a 3. That's all the different ways you could multiply to -12, isn't it? Right? 12 times -1, -12 times 1. 6 times -2, -6 times 2. All of those multiply to -12. And you just have to choose which set adds or subtracts to -4. So 6 minus 2 would be a +4, so we can't have that one. It's this set. -6 plus 2 would give us that -4. Obviously, at the top here, 12 minus 1, that gives you 11. If you add it, right? 12 minus 1 is 11. -12 plus 1 would give you -11. A 4 minus 3 would give you a 1, and a -4 and a +3 would give you -1. The only set that gets you to -4 is -6 plus 2, and that's what we need on the bottom of our X is a -4, right? Okay, so then all you do is you put those two numbers, the -6 and the +2, inside your magic X, and then you have one little extra trick you have to do. Since you multiplied 3 into 4, we got to divide out. And you can see right here, I can easily divide by 3. Over here, you can't divide a 3 and a 2 by anything. One's odd and one's even. So we're not going to divide on the right, we're only dividing on the left. Always divide by as much as you can. Okay, so if we divide that, 3 divided by 3 would be x. 6 divided by 3 would be a -2. And then this one just comes down with no division. Now, if the directions just said factor, you would be done. But it says factor and solve and has the 0 equals 0. So we have an extra step for that. And you're going to set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So x minus 2 equals 0. Pop the 2 over, you would add 2, right? So x would be equal to 2 here, because you add 2 to both sides. This one's going to come up to be a fraction. Set it equal to 0. Set each parenthesis equal to 0. Pop the 2 over, so that would be subtract 2. And when you divide by 3, you get a fraction, and that's okay. Oops. So x would be -2/3. And there's your two answers. So x equals 2 and x equals -2/3. Those are our final answers. And then I just want to remind you what that means. So on the graph, pictorially or in a picture, what that means is x equals 2, and then right close by at negative 2/3, that's where the graph, I'm not certain exactly how it looks, but it definitely is a parabola, U-shaped, and it definitely has x-intercepts, one at negative 2/3 and one at positive 2. So that's the important part of what we are going to study now about your parabolas. Before on the last test, it was all about that vertex, right? Your HK. Well, we're done with the HK. Now we're into checking to see where are the x-intercepts. And then that's a concept that goes all the way through to calculus. All right. So this is just a picture over here. I'm just reinforcing what you're finding. This is the final answer, okay? All right, we'll do one more and then you can finish up on your own. So we're going to do this one next. So remember to draw your magic X. Whatever the first term is, 9x, 9x has to be in here. That's one of the tricks. And you just multiply front and back. So 9 times 8 is positive 72. So that goes in the top. What multiplies to 72 and gives us the middle number of a positive 18? So there's a lot of different ways to multiply to 72. We need the set that's going to give us an 18. So I'm going to go back a page. So here's all the different ways to multiply to 72. And if you still haven't printed this off the Google Classroom, I'm just trying to make your life easier. So remember, we needed a positive 72 that would add or subtract to 18. So which set would add or subtract to 18? Obviously not 36 and 2. That would add up to 38. If you subtracted it, it would be 36 minus 2, which would be 34. So I need the set that's going to be 18, and it's right here, 12 and 6. What's 12 plus 6? 18. See how nice this sheet is? So we're going to use a 12 and a 6, and then we just have to decide on our signs. So a 12 and a 6. So what kind of 12 and what kind of 6 add to positive 18? It has to be positive 12 plus 6. 12 plus 6 is 18. 12 times 6 is 72. Okay. So 12 and 6. That's why I'm just going to go one more time to this sheet. So you go to 72, because that's what's on top, what multiplies to 72, and adds or subtracts to 18. It's right there, 12 plus 6. This is such an easy sheet. You just really need to use it, okay? All right, so what's the next step? You multiplied 9 into that 8, right? So you multiplied 9 in. You have to divide out by a total of 9. So what can you divide this by? A 9 and a 12 without making a fraction. If I put a 9 here, I hope you recognize that doesn't divide easily. That divides with a fraction, right? So it cannot be a 9. Let me see if I can erase that. I don't think my pen wants to erase anymore. But can I divide it by a 3? Yes, I can. Can I divide this by 3? I can. So this side can be divided by 3. Can this side also be divided? What can you divide those by? A 3 as well. And this side 3 and that side 3 multiplies together for a total of 9. So you want to divide wherever you can by as much as you can. Okay, and sometimes that means you have to divide on both. So we're going to go ahead and divide. So 9 over 3 would be a 3x. 12 divided by 3 would be a 4. On the other side, 9 divided by 3 is another 3x. 6 divided by 3 is a 2. And like I said before, if this said factor only, which you would be done, but it says equal to 0. So now we have that next step. We have to set them both equal to 0 and solve. So set each factor equal to 0. You're going to pop that 4 over, so I need to subtract 4 to both sides. We're going to divide by 3. And here's our first answer, negative 4/3. This one's going to pop over. Subtract 2 to both sides. So 3x would equal negative 2 and divide by 3, right? So there's your second answer. X equals negative 2/3. And we're all done. So this is an example where you have to divide on both sides, okay? If you can't divide by this full 9, then you have to divide by smaller numbers, which in this case are 3s. And in this case, you had to divide on both sides. Okay, so this one has a hidden 1. So we're going to draw our magic X. We're going to multiply front and back. 1 times negative 10 is negative 10. That goes in the top. We're going to write 1x on the sides. Remember to put this the first. And then the negative 3 in the bottom. So what multiplies to a negative 10 and adds or subtracts to that 3? So what multiplies to 10? 10 and 1 or 5 and 2, right? And we need a negative. So which one would get us to a 3? I hope you can realize 10 and 1 would not get you to a 3. So it's got to be a combo with a 5 and a 2. But what kind of 5 and 2 gets us to negative 3? So it's either negative 5 and positive 2 or positive 5 and negative 3. Which one gets you to a negative 3 when you add it? And it would be this set. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. This one, 5 minus 3, is just a regular positive 2. Oh, I wrote the wrong number here. It's supposed to be a 2. Too many numbers going in my head. There we go. So 5 minus 2 would be a regular 3. Okay, so we're going to use a negative 5 and a positive 2. Now, in this case, we multiplied a 1 in. We're not going to divide by 1s because we'd get the same thing. So when there's a hidden 1, there's no extra division. So every now and then you would get that kind of problem. So I'm just going to write x minus 5 because we don't really write down the hidden 1. And I'm going to bring the other one down. X plus 2. And don't forget it says equal to 0. So you have one more step to do. You need to solve. Set each one equal to 0 and solve away. And these are easy. If you pop this over, it would be a positive 5, so x is equal to 5. If you pop this over, it would be a negative 2, so x is equal to negative 2. And you're done. And so on this particular graph, if you were to go on a computer and punch that into a graphing calculator, you'd have an x-intercept at 5. You'd have another x-intercept at negative 2, and the graph would be U-shaped. And that's the important numbers that you're finding right now, is the x-intercepts. Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead and do this one on your own as part of your homework. Please make sure it gets done. I'll get you set up. Remember, it's going to be 6x, 6x, and then you multiply the 15 times 6, which is 90. So a negative 90. So there you go. You see if you can try and finish this one on your own, okay? And then make sure you upload that. Now wait a second, don't go anywhere. So here's your homework for tonight, homework number 46. You have 3 problems. Please complete homework number 46 on a separate piece of paper. Okay, thank you. Have a great day.